Armin checked the time again. To 17 a.m. The small digital clock on the wall glowed in the dark, its light cutting through the silence of the living room. His phone rested in his hand. The screen dim, no new messages. He had already read there. Last chat more times than he could count. I'll be home by 9. That was what Hira had said. Simple, normal, nothing unusual. Armin leaned back slowly, his eyes fixed on the door. The house felt strange tonight. Too quiet, too still. It wasn't just the silence, it was the feeling behind it. Like something had shifted without warning. He tried to ignore it at first. People get late, work runs long, traffic happens. But as the hours passed, his thoughts began to change. By 10 p.m., he had sent a message. No reply. By 11, he called. Her phone rang, then stopped. By midnight, he stopped trying. Now it was past 2 a.m., and he was still sitting there, fully awake, waiting. Armin wasn't the kind of man who panicked easily. He trusted Hira. That trust had been built over years through shared struggles, small victories, quiet nights, and long talks. They weren't perfect, but they were steady. At least. That's what he believed. A soft click broke the silence. The door opened. Armin didn't move right away. He watched as Hira stepped inside, gently closing the door behind her. She moved quietly, almost too quietly, like she didn't want to be heard. For a brief second, their eyes met, then she looked away. "Where were you?" Armin asked. His voice was calm, steady, not angry, not loud, just controlled. Hira paused for a moment before answering. "Work ran late." She placed her bag down on the table, her movements quick, almost rushed. She didn't look at him again. Armin nodded slowly. "That late, there was a lot to finish," she said, brushing her hair back. "You know how it gets." He studied her face. There was something different, not obvious, not something he could point to clearly, but it was there. A hesitation, a distance. "Your phone?" he asked. "I tried calling. It died." She replied quickly. "I didn't even notice." Another small pause. Armin didn't respond. He simply watched her walk past him and head toward the bedroom. Her steps were steady, but there was tension in them, like she was holding something back. He stayed on the couch for a while after that, listening to the faint sounds of movement from the other room. A drawer opening, water running. The soft closing of a door. Everything seemed normal, but it didn't feel normal. That was the problem. Armin stood up eventually and walked to the window. The street outside was empty, quiet under the dim lights. He tried to shake the feeling off, tried to tell himself he was overthinking, but his mind didn't let go so easily. The next morning, the house looked exactly the same as it always did. Sunlight filled the rooms. The kitchen smelled like tea. Hira moved around as if nothing had happened. "Do you want breakfast?" she asked casually. Armin looked at her for a moment before answering. "Sure." They sat across from each other. At the table, plates, cups, the usual routine. But something was missing. The ease, the natural flow of conversation. Hira spoke about work, about small things, about plans for the week. Armin listened, nodding when needed. But he wasn't really hearing her. He was watching, not in a suspicious way, not yet. Just paying attention. He noticed how she checked her phone more often than usual, how she tilted the screen slightly away from him, how she smiled at something, then quickly hid it. Small things, things he had never cared about before. After breakfast, Hira stood up. "I'll be late again today," she said. Armin looked up. "Another busy day." "Yeah," she replied. "Deadlines." He nodded. "All right." She gave a small smile, picked up her bag, and left. The door closed behind her. Armin sat there for a long moment. Then he reached for his cup, but stopped halfway. Something didn't sit right. He wasn't angry. He wasn't even fully suspicious. But something had changed, and he couldn't ignore it anymore. The day passed slowly. Armin tried to focus on his own work, but his thoughts kept drifting back to the night before. The late hour, the short answers, the way she avoided eye contact. By evening, he found himself checking the time again, 6:30 p.m., then 7:15, then 8 o'clock. This time, she came home earlier. At 8:20. The door opened. Hira walked in, smiling. Hey, Armin. Looked at her. Hey, she seemed more relaxed today, more like herself. She placed her bag down, kicked off her shoes, and walked into the living room. How was your day? She asked. Fine, he replied. Mine was exhausting, she said, stretching her arms. I'm glad it's over. Armin nodded. For a moment, everything felt normal again. Almost later that night. As they sat watching TV, Hira's phone lit up on the table. Armin didn't mean to look, but he did, just for a second. A message notification. No name, just a number, but the preview was enough. Last night. That was all he saw before the screen went dark. Armin looked away immediately. His heart didn't race. His expression didn't change, but something inside him tightened. Hira picked up her phone a second later, glanced at it, and quickly locked. The screen, work stuff, she said without being asked. Armin nodded slowly. Of course, they continued watching TV, or at least, the TV stayed on. Because neither of them was really watching anymore. That night, Armin didn't sleep much. He lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. His mind piecing things together. Late night, dead. Phone. Short answers, hidden screen, and no number. It still wasn't proof, but it was enough to break something. Not trust completely, but the feeling of certainty. And once that cracks, everything changes. Around 3 a.m., Armin turned his head slightly and looked at Hira. She was asleep, her breathing steady, her face calm. She looked the same as always, the same person he had built a life with, the same person he had trusted without question. But now, there was a question, and it refused to go away. Armin closed his eyes. Not to sleep, but to think, because deep down, he knew something important. The truth was no longer about what he believed. It was about what he was starting to see. And once you start seeing things differently, you can't go back.